you very much for the opportunity to give a martial arts demonstration. I'm going to be talking about karate. It's like, well, wait a minute. Isn't that Japanese? No, it's Okinawan. Karate actually is started in Okinawa. There were long history, but I just wanted to point out the connection between Okinawan karate and Chinese martial arts. The Okinawans had their own sort of innate local styles of martial arts. Tagumi was a kind of grappling, and they also had a system called Te, which is hands. So they had different provinces. They had Nahate and Shurite, these different styles in different provinces. But before the Japanese took over Okinawa, it was a Ryukyu kingdom, and they had close relations with China. They had political, economic, cultural exchanges. And so the guards and bodyguards and soldiers and stuff from Okinawan emissaries, when they visited China, they would pick up aspects of Chinese martial arts there, and then when emissaries from China would come over to Okinawa, they would have that same kind of martial exchange. So a lot of the Okinawan martial arts is heavily influenced, particularly by Fujian white crane kung fu. Karate, originally the Okinawans, when they finally started to use that term, the character that they used for the kata, that meant China. And so karate meant Chinese hands. But when it started to go over to Japan, the Japanese not liking the Chinese, they realized it's not going to catch on if we keep calling it Chinese hands. And so they came up with, there was another character that's still pronounced kata, so they changed that first character, and it means empty. So now we often think of karate meaning empty hands. That's only because of the shift when it went to Japan. Right? But originally it meant Chinese hands. But it's not to be confused with Chinese kempo, which is a different thing. Okay, it's a very complex history. The heart of karate is the kata, or forms. And so what I'm going to be doing is performing one kata called Gojushiho, and that's Japanese for 54 steps. And the Okinawans had a different name for it. It sounded a little bit more like the Chinese for 54. But anyway, it's 54 steps, 54 techniques. They don't know exactly who started this particular form, but it's heavily influenced by Chinese martial arts, this particular form. And you'll see some aspects of it, and I'll explain that later. A lot of people think that kata is a choreographed fight against multiple people. Not the case. That has come, people have come to view it that way. There's a history behind that whole phenomenon, why it's the case, but it's not true. A kata actually is like a syllabus or a textbook. Kata was usually created by a master who put together a series of movements in order to express the key combative principles that were important to him. And then he would attach certain movements to illustrate those combative elements or combative principles. So a kata doesn't give you every possible thing that you can do. It presents a series of movements that encapsulate the key combative principles. And then it was meant as a way for solo practice, and you could take some of these sequences and practice them with a partner. Also, karate and the kata, they're not designed in order to fight another trained person in a ring. And there's a type of sparring that we see now in karate, so it's not with the original intention of karate and kata. It's designed in order to defend yourself against sort of ruffians in the street, so to speak. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate the form. I'll perform the form. I'll do it slow once, and I'll do it at kind of a normal speed. And then I'll pick out a few sequences and kind of show you this is a possible way in which we can interpret some of the combative principles. I kind of like to think of kata as like as a poem, sort of poetry in motion. We don't know what the original designer of the kata had in mind, but we have enough information, enough concepts that we can get a pretty good idea that these were some of the things that they were probably thinking about. But also the fun of training in martial arts is that you can start to develop your own interpretations and try to make it applicable to your own situation, your own context. In the past, one kata represented an entire system. Now a lot of styles have, like my style, we have at least 18 kata that we practice. But originally, someone would train in one kata for most of their sort of martial arts career, because it encapsulates an entire fighting system. So there's lots and lots of information contained within a single kata. So first I'll do it slow. Kata, Gojushiho. Okay, so I want to demonstrate a few concepts and ideas where you can see how aspects of the kata can be used and applied in the self-defense scenario. So one idea for this, the opening movement, right? One thing could be, like if a guy has, usually what's going to happen is someone's going to be like pointing a finger, getting angry, coming at you, right? And the idea is, just relax. The idea is the person is trying to get close, right? And to grab and then blast you, right? That's usually the tactic. So the person is coming at you, got the finger up, he's pointing, he's trying to get close, right? So this first movement, right, is getting that hand down to clear the way towards the head. So this movement is blasting him. And then from there, I know where his hand is, right? It's called proprioception. So without even having to see, I know exactly where his head is based upon this, right? So you can follow up from this movement and do other things, right? But the kata is just showing you that first motion of what to do. Another scenario for that is if you're in a clinch, they've gotten a hold of you, right? And you're kind of clinching up here, right? What you can do is, his hand is here. If I do this, blast him, again, I've got a sense of where his arms are. I've cleared his arms down so I can blast. If he goes to move that hand, I can feel it, right? I can keep it down, do other things. If he goes to move that hand, I can feel it, right? So as he goes to move that hand, I slip to the side and do other things, right? All right, so that's the opening movement. The next interesting thing that a kata does is it'll show you that you have to get off the person's center line. So the angles that you saw me shifting, it's not that, oh, there's someone over here, let me fight. That's not what's happening. Instead, the idea is if I'm going to the 45, I'm getting off the person's center line. So if you, like you got a gun, so put the gun, right? We're both on each other's center line. This stinks for both of us. Okay? So if I get off his center line, but I keep him on my center line, good for me, bad for him. Right? So that's the idea of getting to these angles. Right? So you saw this sequence here. Right? Well, what that is showing us is that, all right, this first technique is like a flinch response to a certain type of attack. It could be someone trying to choke, someone trying to do a high bear hug or tackle, a lapel grab. It could be a variety of things. So what it's telling you is you can either get to this side, stay there, you can either get to this side of your opponent, or you can get to that side. Right? So that's the first thing it's telling us. Get off the center line and throw up a guard, do a defense. The follow-up to that, the next sequence of techniques, that's your response. Right? That's the counter. So say, for example, we're clenched up, and he ends up working up to where you get both hands behind my neck here. This stinks for me. All right? He's got a good control over me. He can then start shift up onto my head, move my head down, knee me. He can do some bad things from here. I don't want this. All right? So the kata is telling me one thing you can do is use this motion. Okay? Pops the hands up, clears it. But I still have a problem. I'm not off his center line, and what do I do with this guy here? Right? Well, that's what the next part of the kata shows us. Right? That's grabbing and clearing that arm. So he's got me wrapped up here. I pop here. I pull that arm over. Right? Now I'm in a really good position. Stinks for him. All right? That's what kata does. It tries to get you in an advantageous position. So from here, if you remember, the kata showed us double punch, kick, punch. Okay? You don't have to do all of that. But one thing you can do is I got the double punch. If he hasn't dropped yet, I got that kick where I can take his leg out. And then follow it with that last punch. All right? So it just gives you a whole set of combinations. Oh, he's still standing. Fine. Kick his leg out. Still standing. Fine. Punch him. All right? So hopefully after the first punch he drops, you're done. Right? But the kata gives us other things that you can do in case they haven't dropped. And then the idea is you're now free to escape. You're in kata and karate, you're always fighting to escape. You're not fighting to win. All right? The other end here, there was a movement where you saw this kind of thing, right? Again, many interpretations, but one thing it can be dealing with is a wrist grab, right? So if we're clenched up again, a common attack if I'm this close is I'm going to try and hit him in the groin, all right? Seize his privates, crush him, get away. He's not going to like that one bit, right? So if I happen to do that, he's going to grab my wrist in order to stop me from doing that, okay? So when you see wrist releases, that's what it is. Someone doesn't come walk up to you, I think I'll grab your wrist now. No, it's usually that doesn't happen. If you're in a confrontation, you go to strike his groin, he grabs your wrist. Or I'm up here, I can attack his eye, right? He's not going to like that either. He's going to want to grab my wrist to get my hand off of his eye, right? I got to deal with this now. Well, the kata shows us one possibility, right? So he's grabbed, right? I've tried to gouge his eye. He grabs my wrist, right? Grab it to pull it off, right? So in order to release my hand, I just do the motion of the kata, right? That's a release. And then from here, I could strike or do what the kata shows, right? From here, punch, right? So grabs the hand, I release, I can punch, kick that back leg out. He's probably going to go down, punch again, and away. All right? As you notice, there were these kind of motions, right? That's very much from the Kung Fu idea. And again, many interpretations, but one thing you can look at here is, even watch sumo wrestling? Yeah. The whole idea of sumo wrestling, you got to get the hold of them and try to throw them and push them out of the ring, right? Well, if someone is trying to grab and grab my lapels to push something, go ahead. Right? So they're trying to, I'm just going to grab the lapel and punch me in the head, right? this would sting for me. I don't want that, right? So as the person is coming in trying to grab, I'm just going to use this motion to keep his hands off me. So just keep trying to grab. Right. So I'm just doing this, right? But it ends with that, right? This kind of motion here. Several things. So as we're coming in, right, I can bang, right? That kind of strike to the head. That's one thing. As we're coming in here, I can also come up. This kind of motion here is a head crank. Right? If he's got longer hair, like traditionally we've got man buns now, but there was the style a while ago in Japan, Okinawa. You would grab that bun, right, and it's a head crank, all right, crunch, right, which is no good. The other thing it can be is a takedown. All right, so if you notice, that movement ends in what's called a cat stance, right? And this particular position communicates a variety of things. You can do a knee strike, it can be a kick, but also it's a transitional position for a reaping throw, right? If you notice when I go to do this reaping throw, right there, that's the cat stance, all right? Then it's to throw. So you see this in the kata, it might mean throw. So maybe he's right close here, he's going for like a bear hug on top, right? So I'm going to use this position, this motion, to keep his hands off. Then I'm going to grab his shoulder and use this to thrust into him, right? And as I do that, I'm going to do a throw, right? Right? And I'm away. If you notice, there was that after that particular technique. That can be, so he's coming in, I got that head crank, he didn't quite go down, right? That's okay. I'll just turn him around and crank him again, right? So that's this. And then I'm away. Yeah. Thank you, sir. All right, thank you very much.